Hello, everybody. We have another super juicy episode today. I'm a little bit more laid back today with my sitting position, so just don't mind me if you're watching the video. But I've been sitting here recording for like an hour and a half, so I'm like, I want to just lay back in my giant chair. So anyway, hopefully you guys can still hear me. Okay, I'm just gonna actually check the sound. Testing, testing. Yep, it all sounds fabulous. All right, so we are talking about, which is like perfect timing because we're getting married so soon. Actually, when is this coming out? Okay, yeah. So I'm already on my break. And we're not telling you the exact date of when we're getting married, just so we can, just have that to ourselves. But you'll find out once the wedding happens and I've posted photos. I'll put the date there so you guys can, see it. But anyway, we are talking about how to manifest your person. And really, what I'm talking about today can go for men and for women. So, for the men out there that want to manifest their woman, you guys can also really benefit from this. And this is a really great episode to be coming back to as well for those of you that are deep in your manifestation portal of like, universe, where the fuck is my man? Okay, so let's go through these things with you guys. So this topic is really important to me in regards to like talking about how to manifest your person, because I do think that when you Google stuff or when you listen to the average episode, and that's why I wanted to come in and do my version of it, there's a lot of just like, you write down the list of all the qualities that you want him to have, and you visualize your life together, and it's just that kind of like regurgitated run of the mill information. And I wanted to give you guys a very different perspective, because part of me likes to say I didn't manifest him, like I didn't manifest him, but it happened. So I'm going to walk through those things today in detail. If you haven't listened to our love story, there's 3 parts. Yep, it's really fucking long. If you haven't listened to it, I think that could be of great benefit for you if you want more context around how we met, the lead up to meeting, kind of just all the nitty-gritty details. So I don't repeat myself here. I'm going to give you the high level stuff that's important for context, but I don't want to like repeat myself too much. But I do think that those episodes can be super expansive for you guys, especially because the way that we met was such like a movie moment. And a lot of people feel like this way of meeting isn't possible for them anymore. And so listening can be an expander for your energy field. And it can also help you to just kind of understand a bit more of the background as well. So that's why I wanted to sit down and do this, because I do think it's really important to understand the nitty gritty and not just see this like, pretty couple on Instagram and that's all that there is. Because I know there are plenty of you, that have spoken to me and it's like, I've been single for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and you just want to be in that dream relationship. And it can feel really fucking hard when you're in that place. Like it really just feels like a bit of a dead end, especially with dating these days. So I'm going to be going through all of that with you guys as well. And I would definitely suggest for those of you that are dating, if you haven't already, get the Embodiment of Dating Masterclass. It is such a relief, and it will stop you draining your energy to deadbeats that are not the man of your dreams, right? Not saying all guys are deadbeats. What I'm just saying, and like women too, is stop wasting your energy, because that becomes such a cock block to you then actually getting that meet cute moment with your man, because you're like fucking hating the opposite sex. You are exhausted by dating. You're hating dating. And you're like, you know what? I'm not dating anymore. I can't. And you kind of swear it off. And those interactions then end up blocking you from manifesting him in. So it's really important that you're also interacting and dating in a way that doesn't make you feel like there's no hope for yourself. So make sure that you get the Embodiment of Dating Masterclass. It's $397 and it's like really actionable steps. It's not fucking like write down how you want to manifest. Like, it's really, really actionable. And everything that I put in there, I did myself to then manifest my soon to be husband. Okay. So, or when listening to this, my husband, depending when you're listening to it, if you're listening to it, a little bit later. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about how to manifest your soulmate. I'm going to talk about how we met. I'm going to talk about the realities of manifestation. I'm going to talk about like handling the singlehood, the sisterhood, well, that too, the singlehood and the self-doubt. And then also making sure that you're engaging in the embodiment pieces and that you're learning from your past dating experiences as well, because that is a big missing piece. Okay. The first thing that I want to say that honestly could be its own podcast in itself, but I don't have time in the schedule right now to do it. So I wanted to drop it here, is that I've noticed a lot of women in personal development can think that they need a man that is also in personal development, that understands the woo woo, that goes to men's retreats and la di da, and that can, like have this like these conscious conversations and whatnot. And let me just tell you from a different perspective, every woman that I've personally spoken to, whether it's a client, whether it's, a team member, whether it's somebody in the DMs, those men, most of the time, I'm going to say, because, there obviously is the exception to the rule, most of the time, shrivel up my pussy, to say it bluntly. Peanut just put, I mean, not Peanut, Shelly just, oh my God, Butter just put his head up like, oh, mum. And I say that because it's not a turn on when a guy is sitting there and is like, tell me how your heart feels. Like, not sexy. It is not a turn on for me when a guy knows, like, oh, is that a black onyx? Like, that's a crystal. I've tried to explain chakras to my fiance, Hal, and do you know what he said in a meeting one time? Because we were talking about this topic. Why the fuck are they banging? They know that I'm working. Painters here. Sorry if you can hear the banging. He called them Shakiras. And when he said that, I was like, this is exactly why I'm attracted to you. Because he doesn't do any of this stuff. Now, it's very helpful for a guy to have some idea of personal development, especially when you're in it, and especially if you want to cultivate a healthy relationship. Him listening to my podcast or him doing my program, The Man, perfect. My issue that I'm having, that I'm seeing that's becoming an issue, is that a lot of men are going to, go down these personal development kind of paths, and they're actually becoming really feminine in the process. And that is then where it feels really unstabilizing and unsexy to our nervous system, because their communication becomes really soft. They become soft. They become like so tender to us that it's like, this is like not super sexy. Even though we'll all sit here and we're like, no, I would love a man that's like, baby, tell me what's on your heart. When it actually comes to it, you're gagging. I'm telling you, you are gagging. When it actually comes to it, it's not sexy, because you want to be with a man. And that means as much as it sucks sometimes because he's not like, tell me what's on your heart, it's also what attracts you to him, because you're not wanting the same butts heads. So you're actually like, even though you're annoyed by the fact that he wants space and you want connection, you also are kind of like turned on by the fact that he wants space and you want connection, or at least you're not turned off by it, because it's like, well, you're dating a man. Or another example could be that, when shit's hitting the fan, he's not like, honey, it's meant to be, the universe is guiding us. Like, oh my God, if my man said that to me, I would literally rip his balls off. Not actually, but I wouldn't be in a relationship with a man like that, because when we're in those moments when shit's hitting the fan, we want him to solve the problem, to come to a solution, to not all of a sudden be like connected to a spirituality and being like, babe, it's happening for a reason. Or, as much as we want our man to be like, yeah, buy the handbag, babe, whatever, like abundance, we also really appreciate the fact that he's like, do you need to buy that Dior handbag? Like, really, really, that's $5,000. You need to buy that. Do you need to buy that? And we also, like, as much as it's like, oh my God, just like, why do you buy $3 t-shirts? We also appreciate his financial, literacy and capabilities, because he's protecting us. So what can happen is, like, when these men get super into personal development, it kind of gets to a point where it's like they lack that backbone that actually is really sexy to us. So why I'm saying this is because I've had clients that are like going after women, essentially, like they're going after men, but the men have done like a lot of work on themselves. That's like a prerequisite that they have for these men, which is fine. But then they're wondering why they're continuously like unattracted to them, or like they can't find the right one, or they're just getting like really like agitated by these kinds of guys, and they're not feeling like they're leading and whatever. Even though they're doing all this masculine work. And it's like, it's because and there's obviously, everyone has their own personal experience, but it's also because they are they've potentially been taught to be super tapped into their emotions. And that missing piece is, yeah, be tapped into your emotions, men, at the right time, not all the time. That's the missing piece. So I'm not here saying, I'm not supporting like men not being tapped into their emotions, men not communicating, men not having support. No. But what I've noticed, and I've experienced this myself, is the over communication from these kinds of men. And the over communication becomes very destabilizing to our nervous systems, and we don't like it. So if you're ladies, if you, all I'm saying is if you are thinking that you need a man that has done all this work on himself, take it from me and take it from the clients that I've worked with that are, in relationships with men that have not done any of this work. You don't need that. You need one of you to be able to lead the health of the relationship, to be able to get out of like wounds and bad patterns and triggers. As long as there's one of you, it's fully possible. And I've had plenty of clients say this to me of like, you're right, Monica, because I'm doing this work. Like it's flowing over to him, even though he's not doing it. It's allowing him to get out of his constant like avoidant or anxious or reactive responses because of the way that I'm now handling the situation. Obviously, it's ideal if both of you are doing some work on yourself. But I just wanted to kind of throw that in there as a little bit of a side note that if that's some kind of like must have, I would honestly, if I were you, I would take it off the list. I really would. You want a man, like you want a man that can lead you. And there are definitely men's retreats out there where the guys that are running them understand the discernment of like when to show emotion and when not to show emotion. And there are men's groups that are not making that clear distinction. So that's why I'm saying for any of you dating men that are into this work, do they know the distinction? And you can feel it from them. So I'm not saying like swear off guys that like do personal development by any means, but just also don't think that that is an immediate green flag. Don't think that that immediately means like everything's going to be perfect with them. Because I've met some, let's just say, very unhealthy men, or I'm actually going to use the word. I've talked about this in an episode. I've one man that I know that was super balls to the wall with his work and actually has been on like some big podcasts, so even more alarming. Full blown narcissist, like textbook narcissist, very, very much like the dark side of personal development that I spoke about in that episode semi recently with you guys. If you haven't listened, I would listen to it. And so just being aware of that, because it's like you don't want to be with a man that is then able to use his words or his masculinity as like a manipulating factor in the relationship. Okay. Okay, so in terms of how to manifest your soulmate, so I want to go through like what are we defining manifestation as, ladies and gentlemen, in the context of relationships? Because there are two people at play here. That's the key thing. When you're manifesting a sum of money or your dream job, right? Well, obviously like the employer is also at play, but you very much are like in the driver's seat. You very much have a very big role. Let's say like 80% of it is kind of up to you in regards to the manifestation. But when it comes to manifesting a person, you can only do 50% of it because they also are part of the equation. They also need to be ready to meet you. They also need to be potentially manifesting you or at the right kind of emotional, I'll get the word out, Monica, emotional place, emotionally literate place in their life, miss that word, in their life in order to be able to be in a relationship with you. So you might be sitting here being like, I'm fucking ready. And I know you are. You potentially are ready. Like so ready. You can hold the relationship. You can engage in the relationship. You are your best. Like you are ready. But what if he's not? And this is a really important thing when it comes to understanding like manifestation with attracting in your soulmate, I do believe is a little bit different. And it really takes a level of patience that most of us do not want to have. Because I've had a lot of clients where I'm like, you are so ready and like you're so in a great place and whatnot. But I'm like, we only can work on you. We can't work on him. And what's important to remember, because I really learned this lesson with, other people in the past and also with my fiance, is if I met him any earlier, even when I was quote unquote ready, I would have flicked him away faster than I flick a fucking spider because he wasn't ready. And so thank God, like we say this all the time, like thank God I didn't meet him any earlier because we wouldn't be where we are right now. And so even though your ego is thinking, are you doing something wrong? Or why is this taking so long? Or like, you're in your own just impatience. maybe you need to be patient for him, because if he comes in, if you play with fire and fuck up the universe's path, you can't really, but if you tried and if you did, what if you then met him earlier and you weren't attracted to him, and that then tainted your actual, like, with, like, meeting in the stars kind of moment. What's it called? Like the stars aligned moment or whatever it is, written in the stars. What if that tainted your written in the stars meet cute moment? You don't want that, right? And so the manifestation piece is different in the context of relationships, because we have to give ourselves the compassion and grace of that. We just want to feel like we've done everything we can. And then if you have, I know this is so much easier. Like, I feel it in my heart. My God, it is so much easier said than done. But you have to then leave it up to the universe. I'm going to give you some action steps, but you have to leave it up to the universe. Okay. So let's quickly go through the difference between passive manifestation and active manifestation. So passive manifestation is just like thinking about it. Like, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? And then the active manifestation is really bringing in the law of action. And so if you're just sitting at home thinking that you're going to meet your man by him rocking up at your doorstep, pretty slim chance of that happening. I mean, it totally could, but who's coming to your doorstep? The pizza delivery guy, the mailman, the electrician, the plumber, and all of those things could be completely fine with you. But if it was me, for example, and I need to be able to have somebody that I want to, that can travel with me, that can work remotely, well, a plumber can't work remotely. An electrician can't work remotely. So figuring out, like, thinking about it for a second, the guy that you want to meet, is he going to be coming to your door? Potentially, because the universe is incredible, and he could have been given the wrong address for a place, thinking that, like, this is his boss's house for dinner, and he rocks up and you open the door and it's actually your house, and like the rest is history. Like, wouldn't that be a fucking amazing story? Yes, that could totally happen. But what I'm saying is like, it doesn't feel good when we're being passive and like we've thrown the towel in. We want to feel like we are doing everything we can. So the active manifestation steps are not just, going to the places that he could potentially be and doing the things that make you happy. That's active manifestation. It's also, be honest with yourself. Have you worked on all of your things? Have you healed your wounds that could show up in the relationship? And obviously you can only really heal them to a point because they show up differently in a relationship, but have you done as much of the healing work as you can? Does your nervous system feel capable of holding this relationship? Those sorts of things are really important to be considering, because that's also part of the active manifestation, taking steps towards it. Don't think that manifestation is just about writing it in your journal, because that is not the case. So when you are coming to my in-person, immersions, when you are joining Queen Alchemy, we have an extended payment plan right now, by the way, so you can get like a super long payment plan for the next round if you want to, like, if you've needed it in the past, more help with like financing options. If you are doing those things, if you're doing Be Loved on a Mother, like if you're doing any of my programs, you are manifesting. Like, you healing is part of manifestation. Do not think that manifestation is only scrolling Pinterest and journaling, because it's not. So for those of you that don't met, and I want to kind of reshare my story because it really is an expander. And also, just as a reminder that, ladies and gentlemen, those meet cute movie moments, they still exist. So the full story is in that 3-part love story that I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, in that 3-part podcast series that you guys can listen to. The link will be below. Don't you love it when you like look at your legs and you're like, oh, I missed a whole part of shaving, but I literally shaved them like a day ago. I swear to God, my 1/8 Italian piece. I really love to now say they're 1/8 Italian because I'm getting married in Italy. I'm like, yeah, I'm 1/8 Italian. I grow hair back in like 3 seconds. I'm not even joking. Anyway, that's totally beside the point. For those of you that want to spice up your love life, if you have not listened or watched, you could listen or you could watch it, to my free masterclass on how to have him lead you. You are missing out, and you want to grab that right now. And this is for you if you are dating or in a relationship and you're wanting to feel wanted by him. You do not want to be nagging him anymore. You want to feel protected and provided for. You want to feel that soul nourishing juiciness that comes from a man that is just claiming you, leading you, and having all of that masculine energy. Like, if you want to be told, I'm picking you up at 8 p.m. or this is what we're doing, or like get into bed right now. I need to ravish you or take your clothes off. This program, sorry, not this program, this masterclass is absolutely what you need. Click the link below and you can register for free. Let me know your thoughts on it. I've been really, really enjoying doing these masterclasses for you guys. It's a little bit of like a different way to deliver some of this juicy content and having that visual aspect as well. And like a vibey backdrop. You guys know I'm like a sucker for a vibe. So yeah, link is below and let's jump back into the episode. How we met. So I was skiing alone. I was skiing in a village that I have, a town, a mountain that I have skied in since the first time I went skiing, Beaver Creek in Colorado. And this is a super long story short. I was an amazing bluebird day. It was powder blue sky, like literally a skier's fucking dream. And I am a powder bunny. If you ski, often people prefer either on piste or off piste, like groomed or ungroomed. I am an ungroomed. Give me moguls, give me off piste, give me all the powder, like thigh burning, like can't breathe, love it. So it was one of those days I was skiing alone and I just got in I just got in the line for the chairlift. I was in the singles line and my now fiance had already seen me skiing down and he just was like, "Oh, she's cute," but didn't really think anything of it, right? It's like he like fucking magnetized, he claimed me in that moment. He magnetized me in. It was a busy ski day. And so if you are a skier, you understand that like you can't just necessarily choose who you get on a ski lift with, right? There's somebody there and they're like, right, one single, two people, boom, get the chairlift. The next person, boom. Like that, they're very much like leading the situation. And so it was my turn. I come up, I'm on with these two guys. Like we all, like, remember guys, we have full ski gear on, right? Like goggles, helmet, full ski outfit, like things around our neck. Like you can't see what each other looks like. And so you're not being like, "Oh, he's hot, I want to get on the ski lift with him." So I will say probably my onesie ski outfit helped, but that was it. And my accent. But we get on a chairlift together. I wasn't sitting next to him, his friend was in between. And I don't even know how the conversation started, but the conversation started. And I knew the mountain really, really well because I'd skied there my whole life. So I was giving them some pointers on where to go. Long story short, he then, after we got off the chairlift, and I was like, "Okay, bye, have a good day," and started kind of skiing off. And I started skiing a little bit and then I stopped and tightened my boots up. And he shouted out to me, like, "Hey, can we follow you?" And all I said was, "Sure, if you can keep up." And they were kind of like, "Oh yeah, like keep up. Okay, look at this like little blonde bimbette in like a fucking onesie skiing." Well, they got a workout in. Let's just say that. And that was history. That was how we met. And at that time I wasn't, obsessively manifesting by any means. I wasn't writing in my journal every day, "Oh my God, like I've met my dream man." I was actually like dating somebody else at the same time, but it was kind of like long distance. So it wasn't like a super big thing. It wasn't official or anything like that. But I was fucking happy. I was doing one of the things that I love, which is skiing. And so I know everybody says it happens when you least expect it, and it would grind my gears when someone would say that to me. I'm like, "It happens when you least expect it." I'm like, "Oh my God, like stop fucking saying this. Like what am I going to least expect?" Like I do the same shit every day. This is like, pre this. Like, how is this even going to happen? And what's really funny to think about, and just a reminder of how we cannot control these situations, is if I brushed my teeth for 5 minutes longer or 2 minutes longer, or got out of bed a little bit earlier, or they took a little bit longer to get their ski boots on, or they were a little bit faster, then we never would have met. They weren't even meant to be on this trip. And his friend had to beg him to come to this place and stay there. And they were staying at a beautiful hotel and whatever. And it's like, if those things didn't happen, we never would have, I mean, we probably would have met. That would have been another way that we would have lined things up. But it's just that reminder of like, you think you can control. Like, it's kind of laughable. We think, like, our egos think we can control meeting our man. Seriously, like, if I could have tried with every ounce of my being to line up those 3 seconds, because literally it's like 2 to 3 seconds that we had to cross over, that would not have been possible. Like, humans cannot coordinate that meet cute. Like, I'm sorry, it just cannot happen. Not in that way of that skiing situation. Like, it cannot happen. And so I share this with you guys as a reminder that if you're trying to control meeting this person, or if you're you know, if you're making excuses up for why he hasn't texted you or why maybe he is good enough or you're settling, fucking stop. Like, the universe is one there to provide for us. And we don't need to be making things so hard. Do we need to be putting effort in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years into a relationship? Yes. But when we're at the beginning of a relationship, I am a big believer that things should be fucking flowing. And if things are not flowing, if things are not just like a magnet and easy, like stop trying with that person. That's not your person. Like people ask me, how do you know? It's just a really important thing. Really important. We'll put a timestamp in for this one. How did you know, Monica, that he was your man? And this is my answer. It's so fucking simple, but it's so profound. When I realized this, when I'd met him, like after a couple weeks, I was like, wow, like this is such a simple answer, but it's the answer. I knew because I never wondered. You know, when you're dating a guy and you're like, oh, I wonder if we're going to get married, or I wonder if he's the one, or I want, like, you kind of like wonder about these future things. There was no wondering about anything. It was this feeling of like a fact, like it was like inevitable. It's like it was already planned out because I guess it was like it was already going to happen. So I didn't even need to worry. In terms of the action pieces, though, and I want to get into this, it is very important that you are living out your values and your boundaries. So I would also reduce, questions and worries and doubts and fears in the beginning was that I knew what I needed in a relationship. I'd gotten very clear on that. And I will say a lot of people think they know what they need, but they're not getting to the root of it. It's like, oh, I need a guy that makes all this money when actually you need a man that's ambitious, right? They're not getting to the root of it. So it's these kind of like surface level needs, which then really pigeonhole themselves, really pigeonhole yourself in regards to dating. Because if I said, for example, oh, I need a guy with like a super successful career and like he has his own business so we can travel together, then I would have written off Hal because that wasn't the case with him. Yeah, he was making great money and he was doing really well at corporate, but he couldn't travel the world with me. Like he had a full-time job and like wasn't able to be remote all the time and la la la. And so, but what I realized I needed was ambition. And why that's important is then look at us now. He left that job, he works for me, and we do travel the world together. And he does get to fulfill those needs of mine. It just didn't look the way that I thought it would look in the beginning. So getting your ego out of the way with dating is super important. And I give you guys a lot of this stuff in the Embodiment of Dating Masterclass. So making sure that you're going there for reference. If you already have it, please do it again. Don't just do it once, do it 2, 3, 4 times to really make sure it's actually integrated and embodied. If you have embodiment of dating my God, speak again, Monica. If you have embodiment of dating number 2, you guys also have a lot of detail in regards to what I'm talking about right now in there. So go back and rewatch those modules, do it again until it's so ingrained in you that you're like, oh, I already know this. Okay. Before I go on anymore, actually, ladies, we are going to split this episode up into 2 because there is just too much to give you. Like, there is not in a bad way. There is just so much that I'm giving you guys. And I want to do the episode justice and I want to make sure that no one forgets to listen to the whole entire thing. So we're going to have a part 2 next week where I'm going to then be going more into trusting the timing. I'm going to be going into dating in the modern world and, dating apps and my thoughts on that and whatnot, and really making sure that you are living out your values and the embodiment of actually dating and having that self-respect and showing up with that. There is so much more that I am about to go into. Seriously, you don't want to miss it. So we're going to leave that to next week. Actually, what I do want to say before we depart is that I want to also recognize that it is harder for those meet cute moments that we want in person. Maybe if you're not wanting to go on dating apps, it is harder for men these days because of Me Too to come up to women. I've seen it in the research that I've done, the survey that I've done for many years. It is harder. And so what we need, it doesn't mean that it's impossible because guys, I've got plenty of clients that can attest to, plenty of you in Queen Alchemy, men coming up to me, men, asking me out, blah, 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 and whatnot. And I will say when it happens to me still, I'm like, yes, still have it. I feel like sometimes once you have that ring on your finger, you're like, do I still have it? Anyway, my point is that, it is really important on your side of things, ladies, to not be pissy about it, but to be like, all right, this is just a reality of today's dating world. What can I do to make him feel comfortable to come up to me? So a warm, open, inviting energy is very important, number one. And maybe being okay with the fact that you might have to go up to him and start the conversation. But once you started that conversation, then you can zip it and then you can let him keep leading the conversation. So you go up and make it very clear that it's safe for him to, you know, start speaking and making a conversation with you, and then zip it, because you also want to zip it, because if he then doesn't keep making conversation, it's like, all right, he's not interested, leave. But if he does keep making conversation, then he's stepped into the leader role. You've just kind of initiated, hey, it's safe for you to like claim me in this situation, or it's safe for you to lead this situation, or to buy me a drink, that kind of thing. All right. Okay. I will see you guys next week for part 2. So juicy. And yeah, happy manifesting, everyone.